Level 1. The juvenile recruit. You're 14. You're in a detention colony outside Perm, sleeping on a metal bunk with 40 other boys. The air tastes like rust and old sweat. The building is permanently cold, and the guards don't care what happens between these walls as long as no one dies on their shift. There's an old man who runs the block. He doesn't wear a uniform. He doesn't need one. Everyone moves when he speaks. You watch him for weeks before he ever looks at you. Then one day, another boy tries to take your bread ration. You don't fight back the smart way. You fight back the only way you know. You put him in the infirmary with a jagged spoon handle. That night, the old man calls you over to his bunk. He doesn't smile. He just says, "You have something. Don't waste it." He hands you a cigarette. You don't smoke, but you take it anyway. That's the first gift. In this world, every gift is a debt. You just don't know it yet. Level 2. The tattoo. You're 16. You've been in and out of 2 more colonies, learning the code without anyone writing it down. Never work with the state. Never marry. Never touch what belongs to the thieves. Today, you earn your first real badge. An 8-pointed star carved beneath your knee, the absolute mark that you kneel to no one. The old man's crew does the ink themselves, using a sharpened guitar string and burnt rubber dissolved in urine for pigment. It takes 4 agonizing hours. You don't make a sound. That's the test. A week later, they hand you your first trial. A snitch in your block has been whispering to the administration. You're told to handle it. You don't ask what that means. You do it in the shower block during lights out where the cameras are dead. You walk out with clean hands. Nobody investigates. Nobody ever does. You're released 3 months later with more ink on your chest than most men earn in a lifetime, and a reputation that enters the room 5 seconds before you do. Level 3. The street fixer. You're 19, stepping out into the brutal gray of Yekaterinburg as a full-grown operative. You work for a brigadier, a local crew boss who answers to ghosts. Your job is pure mechanics, collecting krisha, the protection tax from local businesses. Most shopkeepers pay without a word. They've paid for years. But there's a new furniture store owner who thinks modern laws protect him. You visit him twice, smiling and polite. The third time, his warehouse goes up in flames at 3 a.m. He pays double the next month, on time, in a brown envelope, avoiding your eyes completely. You're making more in a week than your mother makes in 6 months cleaning municipal offices. You buy her a new stove. She doesn't ask where the cash came from. She just touches your face and tells you look tired. You are. You're also being watched, not by the police, but by the crew above you, weighing whether you're an asset to promote or a liability to eliminate. Level 4. Back inside. The authority. You're 23 when a rigged arson charge sends you back over the walls. It doesn't matter. You don't re-enter as a boy this time. You enter as a made name. The inmates already know your ink. The prison has its own hidden government, its own currency of tea and contraband, its own supreme council. You become an authority figure inside the block, settling blood feuds, issuing punishments, controlling the distribution of extra rations. A prison guard tries to shake you down for a payoff he thinks you owe. You refuse him flatly, right in front of 20 inmates. That night, he has you thrown into solitary confinement for 2 weeks of freezing darkness. You come out thinner, hollow-eyed, but entirely unbroken. Every man in that block now understands a fundamental truth. You do not bend, not even to the people who hold the keys. Level 5. The smuggling coordinator. You're 27, walking free, and you've left street-level violence far behind. You operate in the shadows of supply chains. Heroin routed from the Afghan border through Central Asia into Moscow, weapons flowing the reverse direction into nameless conflict zones. Your currency is logistics. Which border guards are on the payroll? Which freight trucks are never searched? Which sacrificial shipment is deliberately tipped to the authorities so the state feels like it's winning? You lose 1 truck a month on average. It's the cost of doing business. But 1 month, a major cache vanishes without your permission. Someone skimmed it. You trace it down to a courier you personally trained. You don't hesitate. The message has to echo louder than the theft. His body is found near the railway tracks outside the city 3 days later. Nobody claims him. Nobody asks questions. You're pulling in more cash in a single month than the city mayor makes in a year, and your own hands haven't touched a single drug packet. Level 6. Crowned Vory. You're 31. You step into a guarded dacha outside the city limits. thick with cheap cigarette smoke and the heavy silence of old Vory, who have buried more friends than most men ever meet. It's a skodka, a secret council. They vote in total, unbroken silence. Unanimous. You are crowned Vory v Zakone, a thief in law. It's a title no amount of money can buy. It must be bestowed by those who already own the crown. From this day forward, you can never work an honest job. You can never cooperate with the police, even to save your own skin. You can never marry outside the code. In exchange, your word becomes absolute law across an entire regional plaza. Younger crews send you a percentage of everything they plunder, whether you ask for it or not. You have become what the old man in the detention colony once was to you, except your reach now stretches past prison bars, straight into corporate boardrooms, and oligarch offices you've never physically entered. Level 7, the launderer. You're 36. The drugs and guns still move in the dark, but you rarely think about them. Your true obsession now is white. Hundreds of millions of dollars of dirty cash that must be scrubbed clean through legitimate-looking brickwork. You own shipping conglomerates, construction giants, a regional chain of filling stations, and a quiet stake in a commercial bank that asks zero questions about large deposits. You sit in a private dining room with a high-ranking state bureaucrat, and instead of a threat, you slide him an offer. A clean percentage of a massive public infrastructure contract. No violence, just legal paperwork. He signs it. Everyone wins on paper. You wear a $30,000 watch to a high society dinner where no one at the table knows that 20 years ago, you were carving a star into your own flesh with a guitar string. But wealth of this scale pulls attention like blood in water. Federal investigators in 3 countries have opened active files with your name underlined. Rival syndicates watch your borders like hawks, waiting for a single tremor of weakness. And the men beneath you, the ones you brought up, have started whispering behind your back, asking why your cut of the empire is still the largest. Level 8, the betrayal. You're 42. You've survived state prisons, turf wars, and 2 decades of active targets. What finally destroys you isn't an enemy bullet, it's a familiar handshake. A lieutenant you trusted with your primary routes, your offshore accounts, and your inner circle has been quietly building a shadow network for 3 years, feeding your movements to a rival syndicate that wants your throne without the price of open war. You find out too late. You're stepping out of a private banya outside the city, relaxed, warm, unguarded for the first time in months, when a dark sedan pulls up beside your driver. It is finished in 11 seconds. No dramatic trial, no headline in Western newspapers, just a brief paragraph on a local crime blog and a closed zinc coffin. Your empire doesn't pause for your funeral. By the time your body hits the earth, the men standing at the edge of your grave are already arguing over who gets your warehouses. Level 9, the next kid. Somewhere outside Perm, a juvenile detention colony runs on the exact same brutal clock. Cold concrete, indifferent guards, and an old man sitting on a top bunk, watching the fresh arrivals with dead eyes. One new boy fights back the wrong way, putting another in the infirmary with a makeshift blade. The old man watches him for a week before finally holding out a single cigarette. The boy doesn't smoke, but he takes it anyway. He doesn't know yet that every gift is a mortgage on his future. He doesn't know your name, or the 8-pointed star you carved into your knee, or the 11 seconds outside the banya that ended it all. The Vory do not remember individual men. They remember the code. The tattoos change designs. The drugs shift to digital crypto. The money moves through invisible networks now. But the structure never dies, because someone is always eager to take the crown, even knowing precisely how it ends.